The webinar will be recorded, and we'll share that with you as soon as it's ready. And then I'd like to say that this is the format for today. Here you can see the topics in the agenda. And what we're going to be doing here is utilizing the Presto tool to demonstrate how digitizing your PMO and using the PDCA methodology will help you with your organization in order to remove bottlenecks and to help you execute on your strategy. It also provides focus on what's really important to you by reminding you where to do your work and thus achieving business success. This is going to be an introduction to Presto. There's many, many more features. And if some of your questions lead us to answer them in another webinar, we will be sending you a link to that. All of the questions will be answered at the end of today's presentation. So we ask you to put them into the chat. And after the presentation, if some of the questions we just don't get to or they're too far off topic, as I mentioned, we can cover them offline or with another webinar. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm going to hand the microphone over now to the co-founder of Presto PDCA, Andrew Lenti, who will be providing today's content. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you, Irwin. Hello, everybody. Pleasure. I see a bunch of people out there that whose paths I've crossed in the past. So welcome everybody again. Thanks for joining us today. I also see a few clients online, which is great because today we're going to be having a look at some of the newer features. As some of you know, I sent you guys some personal messages, but at the highest level, today's agenda, what we really want to do, we want to speak about prioritization. We want to talk about analysis paralysis, and we want to put your PMO in a better position to make quicker decisions and delegate work. And we're going to do so using the PDCA logic, of course, the ratio matrix, and a couple other tools that I think some of you are already familiar with. So taking that forward, talking a bit about productivity, going back to our initial introduction of Presto. Many of you have seen this many times, but for those of you who don't know the Presto PDCA solution, it starts with your operating model. And what you're going to see today, we're going to look at my company, and you're going to have a look from the top down. And this is not my company, this is just an example, and you'll see shortly. But what you see when you're looking at the Presto dashboard, you're looking at the span of control of everybody in your company. In other words, how many teams, how many functions they have underneath them. You're looking at all of the people that are supporting those teams, supporting those functions, and you're looking at the business processes that are in their reporting line. And we're not going to go too much into process management today, but we are going to talk about a best practice. We're going to take a best practice and we're going to run it through the PDCA dashboard. And best practices can, if you decide to configure things that way, show up on your process management dashboard. Quick reminder, Presto is also a role and responsibility management solution. We're not going to talk about that at all today, but it's interesting for you to know that if you're managing roles, if you're managing job descriptions, if you're aligning roles to teams and processes, the Presto dashboard is going to tell you when there's a misalignment and when potentially human resources and learning and development need to be involved. So without further ado, I'm going to jump on my dashboard. Here I am. And you can see here we are on the dashboard. Here's our company. And you can see I got my people here. Now, we don't have 75 staff in the company, as many of you that know us know that's not the case, but we do have about 75 people collaborating with us. So in that number, I also have some of our staple clients. I also have some of our staple vendors. But we do have about 433 business processes, as you see over here. So what you're doing from the dashboard, you're going after your operating model. And as you can see here, I'm just clicking on the people and I can see what is the CEO's role in this company? What is the strategy and change management role in this company, our finance team? And as you can see, you're clicking on teams and you're starting to figure out what team, or should I say, which department or which function does which activity. So at this point in time, what we'll do next is let's talk about assigning work to one of those teams. So for those of you that joined us in last week's webinar, we had a special presentation called 6 Reasons Why Your Business Lags. So today we're not going to go through all 6 of the reasons, but we are taking a bit of that last presentation so that you can see step by step how to take certain pain points from a business that's slow, a business that's not prioritizing, a business that's in the famous analysis paralysis situation, and get them out of it. So taking that one step forward. Reason number 2 is management is losing time micromanaging. Micromanaging means that the managers are, or the leaders of the company are deciding to distribute work, but they're not getting out of the way of the staff when the staff is supposed to do it. And that's the point we want to make today. So a slide that many of you have already seen for those of you that are part of our network and our user group, but for those of you that are new to this forum, as you know, we like to do everything in these 4 steps: plan, do, check, act. And I like this quote from Henry Ford. Basically, no matter how big the project, when you break it down into little pieces and then take it even further, take every little piece and decide what and understand which phase in the plan, do, check, act change cycle you're in, life starts to get easier and you start to better manage your resources, both from the managerial leader point of view, from the staff doer point of view. So here we are on my dashboard again, and you can see there we are. We're looking at the teams, and you're looking at all open activities that your team is currently taking forward. Now, just to give you a little bit of additional information, that ACT right there stands for acknowledge, because before you can plan to do anything, you have to acknowledge or even approve. Sometimes the word approve fits better in this situation. So basically what you're seeing in this column here is anything that we want to do, but it hasn't been planned yet. And a lot of times what you have in the ACT column is actually ideas, things that you want to be doing, but you don't know if you're going to have the manpower to do it. Anything in the plan column is telling you this is something we want to get into the hands of our staff, but we still haven't decided who's going to do it, what the actual tasks are, what the milestones are, and when. Anything in the do phase means you're executing, you're getting stuff done. Anything in the check phase means that your team has executed, and now once again you need to get team leaders and mid-level managers and sometimes even senior managers signing off and saying, yep, the job was done correctly. I put my signature on it. Let's get something out of our investment. And then finally, the act phase, depending on what type of work you're doing, this is where you're actually making a decision or taking something forward. So a lot of times you get a job done, you create a new product, but now you have to act on that. So what that means is launch a new marketing campaign or get the product into the hands of your users so you can train them. Obviously, every process has a different journey at each PDCA step. So a quick overview of a managerial span of control. So in most situations, if you're looking at this type of activity, so if I wanted to look at all the activity taking place on my website management team run by Deepa, I can open up my PDCA detailed report and I can see which activities are in the plan phase, which activities are being done, which activities she has already done, and now somebody else, probably 1 or 2 layers above her, need to go in and make sure they take the work forward. So that's giving you this top-down helicopter view of your activities in a more granular view from the PDCA cycle, reminding us that anything that was in the ACT phase most likely was put there and signed off on. And when we say complete, we're talking about the color blue, by somebody with decision-making authority, usually a director. In other words, an idea that somebody said, hey, can we do this project? Directors talked about it and they said, okay, let's push it through the PDCA cycle. But then once it gets into the PDCA cycle, obviously you need people with hands-on experience and visibility into what resources you have available to decide who's going to do what and when. And then when you're in when you're in the execution phase, there's your staff taking things forward as your managers pointed out. And if I stop for a second and just talk about what we've seen up to these 3 phases, we've seen senior leaders make big decisions on what the company is going to invest in. We've seen team leaders tell the senior leaders how it's going to get done and put their signature on it, saying it's ready to go. And now you see staff taking it forward, executing. Once again, getting the cooks out of the kitchen, getting the staff to do their job with the least amount of micromanaging possible. And then finally, from there, you're in the check phase. Once again, responsibility going up a layer, probably to team leaders, middle management. And then the act phase, again, depending on what the process is, what the activity is, will obviously require the right layer of management. But if you think about bigger companies, if there's a lesson learned that was acquired during the execution phase, and only a director in many cases is in a position to say, that lesson learned would work great in our Paris office. It would work great in another location. The team leaders are not in a position to be able to get that over there and get the discussions going to figure out how to standardize and integrate those lessons learned. So that's why that ACT phase, super important that senior management takes responsibility of that. And Presto is going to help you get that on their radar and make sure things don't get missed. So first exercise we're going to do, for those of you new to Presto, of course, Presto is a task manager, and I want to just book a very quick and easy task. We're going to take a look at this 11-step task right here. So this is more of a best practice. This is how in 11 steps we create and give a presentation. And as you can see from the color codes, each of these steps falls somewhere within the PDCA cycle. So when we approve that a presentation is going to get done, you're acknowledging it. When you're assigning the team tasks and time frame, when you're inviting participants, you're planning it. When you're preparing the document, when you're giving the presentation, when you're publishing it, you're doing, and so forth. So what I'll do now is jump on the dashboard and let's go take a look at, so I'm going to single out our IT team led by Binoy Mohan. You can see that's his team. He's given us a nice description of what he does. These are the key processes that he's working on. These are the roles on his team. And what we'll do now, let's jump to, I'm going to open up my org chart. You can see Binoy has 14 functions underneath him, 9 people working on his team. Let's zoom into his team. Let's jump to his team. So you can see there he is, 9 people in his reporting line, 51 business processes. First thing we're going to do, we're going to book a task list that carries out these 11 tasks. Now, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to make this just a few steps. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to book a work order, and I'm going to assign it to our website management team. That's Deepa. And I'm going to use a one-step just do it Kanban board. In other words, we know PDCA exists, but in this case here, we're saying just do it. The planning, the acknowledgement, it's all done. We're just giving it to the team leader and her staff to say, go forward with this. No need to engage us. And we're going to say, give a presentation to your team. So this is something that Deepa, if Deepa wants to give a presentation to her team, she absolutely doesn't need to escalate and get management's involvement. So I open up her this task list, and we're going to start. And she's going to say, plan presentation, give presentation, debrief, archive. Now, what I've just done, I've just simplified this for the sake of simplifying things and saving us all time today. But while I'm here now, of course, I can actually, let me do one thing first. Let's talk about who's going to be involved in this. So let's say she's going to bring on board our new colleague now, Arslan. He just started this week. So this is a very real opportunity for Deepa to give a presentation to Arslan about what she does and how he's going to support her. And she might say, Binoy, I'm going to keep you informed on this one. So there's Binoy. And I might even say, guys, why don't you keep me informed as well, how the training is going. So there's me. And she might move up, ask her colleague Ramesh or Arun to give her a hand on this. So they become the consulting partner. So not to go too much in it, but Presto's all about role and responsibility definition. And there's our AC matrix telling the company that we're identifying tasks, we're identifying a team, and we're going one step further and we're identifying roles in this activity. And if you want to really go forward, you can actually tell everybody that's in the activity what their role is. So I could actually say, Deepa, we expect you to be a leader on this. We expect you to use technical skills. Ramesh, we may need you for technical skills as well. We may need you to help us do some administration in the presentation. And here's where you start to use a heat map to tell people where their expertise isn't required for leadership, problem-solving skills, technical skills, administrative type skills, and then general flexibility. This is completely customizable. And there's a bunch of other things you can do here, but I'm not going to go into it too much at the moment. But anyway, you can see where Deepa is going to give a presentation and Arslan's the actual responsible party. We could actually say Deepa is also the responsible party because she's the one that's giving the presentation. So anyway, we got our tasks here. Let's say she's going to plan it by the 31st. She wants to give the presentation next week. I'm going to say on the 4th, and so forth. You put your dates in here. You can start giving priority if that's where we want to go. But the next thing you want to do is, you can see we plan the presentation, give the presentation, debrief, and archive. So now if I close that, immediately you're going to see on her Just Do It dashboard, there's that process. Now, right now it's still gray and it's in the do phase. Now she might say, okay, it's a Just Do It task, but I still need to plan. There still needs an element of planning. And that's why she put that there. And what you can do now, you can zoom in to each task and you can give it as much more detail as you need. So here's the task plan presentation. And she's going to actually say, this is a plan step. It's not a do step. So here you got your PDCA cycle, and she's going to say plan presentations. Now, I'm going to close this. Now, let's imagine that she wants this done by the 31st, but she's a bit nervous. So she's going to put this in at risk. She's not sure the planning is going to be confirmed yet. So now I close that. You can see there we are in the, she's put the yellow status. Now, when I close this, here we are on the dashboard again, but we're back in the plan phase and we got yellow. So what you're doing now is, as you're managing your company, you're trying to get all your activities on your board and you're trying to keep everything as green as possible. So here we are in the plan phase. Let's open that up again. So I open up the report. I can see we're in the plan phase. We expect everything to be planned by the 31st. We expect the doing to get done by the 4th. Let's go to the debrief. This is going to become a check task. And we expect this to be done by the 5th. And then finally, we want to archive this presentation by the 6th of June. So I'm going to come here. And this is an act. Now, you don't need to do all of these things we're doing today, but I really want to just zoom into the whole PDCA logic so everybody online can understand what you have available if you use the solution. So now you can see the PDCA cycle here. You can see the dates you're expected to get these things by. And now if you come in here, I say, okay, we've planned everything. So I click that, that becomes blue. And we've configured our Kanban board to say, as soon as the planning's done, put the doing in green. And now you're going to see, there we are, we're in green. There we are, we're in green in the do phase. And just for one more reiteration, let's imagine she's given the presentation. And now we're effectively in the close phase, the check phase, and the act phase. Now I had the configuration, so these things automatically close. That's why they turned blue. But you can see now I open this up, we're in the check phase and we're green. So this is a great way to start controlling things and understanding who needs to do what. So the next thing we're gonna do, let's talk a bit about best practice. Let's talk about utilizing different layers of management to enhance the PDCA cycle. So jumping on to what I did earlier, we created a best practice that looks just like what you see here. So we got an 11 step. It's actually 13 steps on our team, if I remember correctly. And we have it on our PMO team. So I open up our processes and you can see we have strategy and performance. No, here it is. So we have a best practice called presentation management best practice. So here I am. There's our checklist on the process workbench, which more or less reflects this. It just, like I said, there's 13 steps. And we've already assigned, this is the approve of the presentation, it's acknowledged. Assign team tasks and time frame, plan, invite participants, reserve the room, collect data, prepare the draft, review and finalize the presentation. So you can see we have our PDCA logic mapped out across your 13-step checklist. And just doing this exercise, I can't begin to explain how it makes your company completely understand and absorb the PDCA logic. So they start becoming more effective in marrying the RACI matrix with the actual PDCA phase and understand the importance when it comes to high impact, high priority activities to engage the right levels of management, especially in the planning phases. So you can see we got this best practice here. Let's jump back to Deepa's team. So I'm just going to click on Binoy's dashboard and let's do the same presentation that she just set up, but let's use that best practice board. And I'm going to come here. We'll assign her the one step, just do it. And let's assign this as a training activity. And we're going to say train Arzalena, our new developer. I'm going to save that. And this time around, we're going to go straight into our best practice dashboard. And now here we have all the different, we have general best practices. We have Deepa's checklists from standard work from any processes she has. And here we have all other standard work best practices. I'm just going to type in the word presentation, and there I can see it already. It's on Vani's team, 13-step presentation management. I'm going to import that checklist that you just saw. And now you can see immediately, there it is. Now we've configured the Kanban to say, when you're in the approve phase, we want the approval phase to be done immediately. That's why it's red. So I close that, and you can see now on Deepa's dashboard, we got two things. We got the first one we booked, the simple one, and here's the second one, train Iceland. So you can see we're in the act phase. So I'm gonna say, let's get out of the act phase. We've approved the presentation. Now we're in the do phase, and you're gonna, the plan phase, and you can see configured to give us a due date of 1 day out. That's how we configured it. And we said we want to assign teams, invite participants, reserve the room. Now leave the last one open, collect data and preliminary information. So you can see there we are in the plan phase. 31st of May is the due date. There it is. And of course, here we got a filter, so you can see, just show me everything in plan. So I click this and this disappeared, as you saw the other one. And of course, as you've seen from the first time, one last time, let's move out of plan into do. I tick the last plan box, and now we're in the do phase, and these guys are green. Now I haven't configured a due date because a lot of times you need to configure it yourself. So I close that, and you can see there we are in the do phase, and both of these activities are green. So now the next thing we want to do, that's a presentation for a team leader to give her new staff member. Now let's imagine, and for those of you that are in our network, you probably received this job aid earlier this week. Let's imagine that there's a bit more at stake. Let's imagine that Deepa's boss, Binoy, says, I need you to give a presentation to another team. So basically, it's now becoming a department level type activity. In other words, Binoy is actually accountable for this. And if things go wrong, he just wasted not the company resources, not just on one team, but on two teams. So in this case here, if this was Deepa here, she's giving a presentation on the team. If you take a look at the RACI matrix, you can see in the plan phase, you got some higher level levels of management in the act phase. So what we're going to do now, we're going to use a 3-phase Kanban board, which a lot of you know already, to do, doing, done. And you can see in the to-do phase, you got higher levels of management. And in this case here, we got the team leader who's actually being presented to responsible. So Binoy would be saying, you guys need to organize this presentation, make sure everybody's available, and that we don't waste time doing a presentation to people, to a team that's half-staffed, and those type of things. So at this point in time, same thing. This time I'm going to come here and let's do it on Ramesh's team. So I'm going to say Ramesh is going to get the presentation, and this is a 3-step Kanban. This is training as well, and we're going to say train product team on operating server update. Okay. So this time around, you can see we got 3 phases: to do, doing, done. And now we're going to go get that same checklist that you saw earlier, these 11 steps, 13 steps for us. But this time what you're going to do, I'm going to go find it. There it is. I'm going to import it. And what you're going to see is, based on how you configured the PDCA cycle on the checklist, that's what you see here. So here you got to-do tasks. Our to-do tasks are anything that's acknowledgement, anything that's planning, and there they are. Here we have our doing tasks. Here we have our done tasks. So once again, we're doing the same exact best practice, same exact standard work, but we're going to put ourselves in a position now to say, well, in this phase here, we need Binoy, the department director, accountable, and we need Deepa and Ramesh responsible to do all of this planning and approving. And again, Binoy is accountable. He's their boss. If they don't do it right, then he's the one we're going to have an issue with. But in the doing phase, you're going to say, well, in this case here, Deepa and Ramesh, or actually do it this way, Deepa and Ramesh are accountable, and their team is responsible. So maybe you would have Arslan in there, and you would have Harun and whatnot. And then finally, when we're in the done phase and we need to publish and share, debrief with the team, document and agree, again, you might want to get a higher level of management in here. Now, keep in mind that we're not talking about, we're going to finish this presentation speaking about sense of urgency, speaking about alert management. So all of that, if you have any questions right now and thinking, how is Binoy going to be notified about this? How is Deepa? You're going to see that shortly when I show you how we marry the task list, the RACI matrix for each phase to each email and alert notification activity. But last thing I want to do really quickly is take a look at a high level presentation. So you have a situation where Katie is being asked to do a presentation because our simulation, the COO himself asked Steve to do a presentation. He volunteered Katie. So in this case here, you can see there's a high layer of management that's going to actually see the presentation. It's maybe it's a team leader who's doing a presentation to the C-suite in a steering committee. So that's lots at stake for everybody here. And that's where you really want to go one step further and use the complete PDCA cycle. And if that was the case here, let's jump to another team now. Let's jump to, I'm going to go up. So up here, here's on the org chart panel, you have your company directory. Let's type in Chris, who I believe is on the call as well. So he's head of strategy and management. There's Chris right there. And now we can say, let's imagine that, no, actually, let me do something different. Let's jump to the marketing team. So you can see a couple different layers. So this is our marketing function, and you can see we have things broken down by content management, outreach, website management, SEO, media and publicity. And let's imagine we're going to bring Tom, our outreach manager, into a board meeting. So what we're going to do, before he presents something into that meeting, we want to make sure he gets all the support he needs. So this is Tom's team. You'll see his picture shortly, and we're going to use the 5-step PDCA. And again, let's make this a training activity. I'm going to say, give a report on outreach statistics and success rate to board of directors. So now so it's a young gentleman, but he's now going to be under the spotlight in front of a lot of people. So we want to make sure his managers give him all the support he needs. And now you can see here we are. There's Tom. We're acknowledging, we're planning, do, check, and act. Now you can see we've preloaded a bunch of things in here already, which are these are pretty much generic PDCA activities. Now in this case, we want to add our own checklist and remove everything else that's already there. So I'm just going to come here. Again, here's our checklist, and there's our checklist. Now when I import it, watch what happens. All of this stuff over here gets deleted. That's what that message just asked me. It said, do you want to delete anything that's already there? And now there's approve your presentation, assign teams tasks, invite participants, reserve the room, collect the data. Here's the do, draft the presentation, review, practice, rehearse with the team, present. There's the check, publish, debrief, and there's the act. Now, of course, we need to go into each of these phases and say, when you do this, these are the people that are going to be supporting you here. When you're acknowledging, when you're planning, and then when you're doing. So everything changes. And of course, you can even, you can have your RACI matrix automatically configured as well, based on the team, based on the Kanban board, but that's for another time. So appreciate that everyone's still on the line right now. So basically, that was the first part of our presentation. It was the majority of the presentation. Now we're going to go in and look at a couple of new features and show you how you can take those things further. So I see there are some questions in the chat. We're going to get to those later, but if you have any PDCA related questions about what you just saw, I invite you to put them in the chat now, and we'll get to them very shortly. But now let's talk about reason number 5 from our famous presentation from last week. Management is stuck from lack of real-time big picture insights. So what you want to do now is you want to put anybody on that dashboard in a position to make quick decisions. You want to make them understand where they are with certain things. And obviously, if you have a lot of responsibilities regarding people, processes, and strategic initiatives, there are times where when you close your day, you kind of want to put yourself in a position to go home at night, knowing that you already have decided what you're going to do tomorrow. So you're not thinking about it when you're trying to get some rest. And of course, you also want to put yourself in a position so when you come in the next day, you know exactly what you're doing. So what that really means for decision makers is that they want to be able to zoom in onto something really quickly, understand where there might be some risk, and then figure out if it needs to get on their agenda or not. So what Presto does now, for those of you that have been with us for the last couple of years, this is probably the biggest news that everybody seems to be profiting from now are the new linking function. So our goal now is before the end of the summer to be able to link any type of object in your operational excellence strategy to a project. So what that means is that we should be able to link IT applications, roles and responsibilities, which is already there, staff, which is already there, processes, which is half there in some areas, but now we're going to enhance this as well, so you can start easily linking a process to something that's already on the dashboard. KPIs and strategy, so you'll be able to say this KPI is underperforming. I want to create a project that's linked to this KPI, and then tomorrow, if I'm only thinking about that KPI, maybe it's underperformance in our sales team, I can easily go on the dashboard and find that immediately. Assets, this is a big one we're excited about, should be coming out before the end of June. You'll be able to put your laptops on some teams. You'll be able to put your forklifts team by team, talk about what they are, what condition they're in, and then the minute you need to fix a laptop or pay a bill or something, you can link the projects on the PDCA dashboard to the actual asset. This, we feel, is going to be really great in the hotel and tourism industry, where you got all kinds of little assets that keep your employees pretty busy. Linking documents. And of course, the one we're going to really zoom into right now, linking accounts. So basically, I want to see on my dashboard every project I have outstanding that's linked to a service provider, that's linked to a client. So keeping that in mind, here we are on our dashboard, and what you can do is start filtering things based on activities. There's the activities that I just told you about, the assets, products, documents. Not going to go too much into it, but a lot of you know we have a very powerful notebook feature allowing you to capture lessons learned and then filter your dashboard based on things you've learned, roadblocks you've seen, discussions, things like that. We have our advanced filter, which most of us are pretty familiar with anyway, when you want to show me projects booked today, yesterday. So show me projects where Andrew's the responsible party. We got a bunch of filters here. And of course, we have our news feed. And the news feed is constantly being updated so that you can see at the top of the news feed anything that somebody's been into. So if somebody's gone in and ticked the box, closed the task, there it is at the top of the news feed. So really quickly, let's go take a look at how we link accounts. So here we are. I'm going to go to the top of the company now, and you can see right now I have a filter on for showing me everything that I've booked today. Now, at this point in time, let's talk about accounts for a second. So here's our new widget menu. There's our accounts. So what you're doing is, here's all our clients. We have them listed here. Here's all our service providers. And this is just a few months old. So obviously we still have a lot of data entry to put in here, but these are the ones that we're currently immediately finding value with. And if you take a look, what I'll do now is I'm going to take the filter off. Right now, you just see the things that we just booked. If I go to my advanced filter, you can see right now you're looking at everything that was open today. Now I'm going to just say, show me everything. And now you're going to see this is why I'm constantly busy. If I don't return your phone calls, it's because I'm probably working on something in the do, or working with Irwin and the rest of the management team, trying to push things through the plan phase into the do phase. And of course, usually before I close my day, what I'm constantly eyeballing is the reds and the yellows. So anyway, going back to our account management topic. So let's jump back to our main filter panel. And you can see out of all the stuff on this dashboard, there's 42 items that are linked to accounts. I can come here, I can say, let's take a look at service providers, and you can see there's lead cleverly. That's Tom's team. He's an outreach specialist. You can see we've got 9 projects on this dashboard that are linked to him. Now you can see the dashboard already started to filter. I'll go back one step. There's 12 items there. There are 35 items on the dashboard linked to clients. There's our clients listing. But I'll go back to service providers. There's lead cleverly. You can see their logo. And if I click this button here, you get everything on the dashboard. So now I know immediately if I'm about to have a meeting with Tom and his team, I'm going to take a look at this and just talk about everything we're doing, everything we're checking, everything we're acting on. Now, one thing we didn't do when earlier we booked that new activity, and we booked it. We involved Tom's team. So in this case here, let's go back to the stuff we just opened today, and I'm going to open this up again. And there's Tom's team. Now we know it belongs to him already because it's on his dashboard. But let's imagine that we didn't have a special dashboard for him. We just had it was just lumped into marketing. So what you can do now, you can come here and I can say, let's link this project to Lead Cleverly. That's Tom's team. I could actually say, let's also link this to LivePlan. That's one of our software providers. Let's imagine this project was involved with both of them. So now you can see I'm linking this project here. You can see that number 2 is already telling me that. If it was linked to a client, I could come here and say, this is linked to AmFarm. Okay. So I can close that and you can see clients. So at this point in time, you really start to get much more efficient when you're ready to go have meetings, because now, if I'm meeting Tom tomorrow, I'm just interested in seeing what's linked to him. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about really quickly, because I do want to leave some time for Q&A, is when it comes to grouping projects, is the OKR module and the strategic project capture module. So what we'll do, let's take the filter off. So right now we have all stuff open today. Now, from a strategy execution standpoint, and this is where it takes some time to really think things through. Now, you can use our start and play template, or you can put a bit more thought into it based on what your strategy is all about. Now, in our company, we have 2 major types of project groups. We have OKRs and we have agile projects. Now, we've also put in here strategic program initiatives, but you can see I don't have anything linked there yet. We have work orders and we have small projects. And there's the apple hanging low to the ground. In other words, low hanging fruit projects. But this is completely customizable. So from an agile projects point of view, I have 3 agile projects that we're really zooming into. Now, again, big picture view, when I want to meet with the 2 developers that are working on the KPI enhancement project, right before we kick off our team meeting, the first thing I'm going to do is look at this. Now, I got that big picture view and I can see we got all kinds of stuff. It's late and most of the stuff is still needing to be planned. Let's take a look at that and you can see KPI enhancement project. This is the parent project. So KPI enhancement, workbench and linking dashboard. And here are the sprints. So these are the things we're still planning. These are the things we're still doing. These are the things we're still checking. And while you're on this dashboard, you can look at your Gantt chart and you can start to get an idea of when these things are going to get done. So from a roadmap point of view, let's talk a bit about our OKRs. How did we set those up? So here's where we have the key project groups, we might want to call them the parent groups, however you want to say it. We're saying OKRs. And what this means for us, for example, finalize and launch the 2024 online 5-tier offer. So you can say got 27 child projects that are supporting that. And if I open that up, now for OKRs, here we have your objective, and here you have your key results and actions. And basically, based on how you set these things up, so if I come in here and just open up any project, I come in here, these are the key results. You can see most of this stuff is done, but I still have one guy that's open. It's putting the icons on a page. So this gives you that big picture view. It gives you the possibility now to really zoom into what you need to be looking at to prepare for whatever you have in the upcoming day, in the upcoming week, and of course, in the upcoming months. So that's that. The last thing I want to do is super important now, because we just launched this feature where we haven't put together the best material to train the staff yet, but it's super, super effective. So this what you're seeing now completely revolutionizes your team. If you have multiple people that you're working with, and the deliverables on a daily basis need a daily team meeting. They need your attention. So for me, I spend a lot of my time in the morning working with the developers, because there's all kinds of stuff going on. Things need to be tested, things need to be reviewed and potentially rejigged, reorganized. So what you can do now is you can start sending what we call push emails to anybody that's in the RACI matrix. And what you got is you got this button here, and you can just have Presto send them a message about what you see on that task list. Now, before we actually look at that, before you even send emails, you have the alert feature, so you can see everything we just booked together. We booked we booked tasks and closed tasks with Tom. We booked a new activity with Deepa, and of course, when you click on the alerts, there's the project. That's the project we just booked 20 minutes ago. But what we could do now, I could actually open this up and say, okay, you know what? There's me as the informed party. Let's imagine I want to send an email to some people here. I want to remind people that we got to get this done. Click on this guy, click here. And now it's saying, these are all the people in your RACI matrix. And I'm going to say, okay, send to Andrew. I'm going to send a quick message saying, hey, where are we with this? And when you click that send button, you're going to see now in my inbox, if I had it open, I'm going to receive an email from Presto that's basically giving me all the information about a project where I'm in the RACI matrix. And there it is. Give a presentation to your team. I open this up and I can see immediately. So this email is telling me that a new project was set up, and you can see there's my message. Hey, where are we with this? There are the actual tasks, the due dates, and what's still going. And it gives you more information here. It's telling you where you are in the RACI matrix, who's the initiator, who's the owner. And if we didn't get into it today, but if we had uploaded or linked documents to the project, and you do that from this panel over here, by uploading a document and putting a link, that link comes in the email so that people can then click on that link and go straight to the document that's saved in your shared drive. So what this does from a revolutionary point of view, this allows you as a PMO to manage all of your activities here, and you don't even need to have all your staff using Presto, because you can just have Presto send them the emails. And as long as they get accustomed to receiving these mails from Presto, knowing that you pushed it, or you can set it up to automatically configure. But from my experience in the last few years, nobody enjoys receiving automatic emails. So what Presto allows you to do, you can turn that off or configure it the way you like, and just say, you know what, we're only going to send emails to start manually, as I just did. So that way, when Presto sends you an email, you know, well, one of my managers just pushed that to me, and I better take a look at it. So that's that. Let me just check if there's anything pressing that I wanted to show you. No. So quick regarding the offer, if you're not using Presto and you're interested in using it, I'll remind you that you can start free. You can go online. It's in the PMO package. Everything you saw today is available free online. Now, the drawback is you're not going to be able to put there's a limit on how many things you can put in there. That's the limitation on the free one, but it's free forever. You're not going to get, it's not going to expire. But if you want the full version, the full PMO plan, it's $12 a month. So you can go online and buy the Entrepreneur plan. It's called Entrepreneur, and everything you saw today for $12 a month. In the event you like what you see, but you want our help, especially someone like my friend Irwin, who's on the line, consultant who's very skilled at getting you to set up a dashboard. He's managing 2 pharma clients at the moment, showing you how to group projects into your PMOs, showing you how to categorize things. This is what we could offer you if you're interested in really getting support. So in other words, for 45 minutes a month of our time, you can get a SME license at $185. If you really want a coach to crack the whip and make sure that your team is checking in with us, or we're checking in with your team, looking at the usage report together with them, we're happy to offer you 3 licenses for $367 a month. And if you want to work with us as consultants to build your strategy using the Hoshin Connery logic, lining it up, figuring out what KPIs you should be reporting, creating management reports that you're going to use, we'll be happy to go into some type of consulting agreement. This gives you an idea. Obviously, we would have a discussion, and if you have bigger needs or whatnot, then obviously we'll talk about that, because it's not a one size fits all. But this is a starting point to give you an idea if you're interested in working with us. So I'm going to stop at that. I see there's questions, but I'll let my colleague Irwin take us to the next level of the discussion. Irwin, you still with us?
Yeah, hi, still here. I'm looking through the thread on the questions, and there's only one question, which was from David, who unfortunately has left, and he left a little bit early, but he was failing to see how this was a digitization of the PMO and the OKR, which kind of grew from your presentation of how you digitize your business, first with the people and then with the processes, and then you dig into the operation of projects from a PMO point of view. But sadly, he has left. So I would just say open, maybe type in any questions that you might have related to from the point of view of how to set up this your business inside of this digital representation of it. It's this digital twin, or anything specific about the functionality that you might have going, and we'll be happy to field the question.
Ewan, regarding that last question, if you fail to see how you digitize, well, I mean, the out of the box response to that is basically, if you're using Excel spreadsheets or PowerPoint just to do everything you saw here, you don't have a digital PMO. In this case here, you have a digital PMO, and your ultimate goal is to give access to the senior management team so they can just look at that dashboard and give them self-status updates on things, so they can have more meaningful conversations with team leaders when they meet them, instead of having administrative focused discussions on statuses and stuff like that. This is stuff they'll already know in real time. So that's the digitization of your PMO. But, okay. Any more questions for us? Okay. Well, I want to say thanks to everybody for coming. Hopefully we'll be seeing you again. We are going to make this a weekly event. It's probably going to be on Thursday afternoon for Europe and North and South America, with a follow-up on Friday morning for the APAC region. Same exact demo. So you'll be getting more information about that in the near future, but we are planning on having webinars every week. So please stay in tune with us and reach out to us if there's anything we can do for you. But thank you everybody for coming, and hope to see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you. The webinar is being recorded, and you'll get the link in your email. Thank you. Bye-bye.